Yes, this is Buffalo. Yes. We got a spot for you if you want it.
Who are you calling? You can't sign anybody.
I'm legally tampering with the
Oh,
players.
God, stop it.
I will rise above this. This hell I made this city haunted. An empty home, setting aflame. Where the city was just built to burn down to the ground.
Legally tampering. How ridiculous is that term? Legal tampering period.
Legal tampering. It's like,
You know,
you got to put legal in front of anything.
Here's what was happening, though, right? Teams were doing this all behind the league's back, and they just finally said, to hell with it. We'll just make it. Stop the nonsense. Guys were negotiating contracts before the league year even started. The league's like, that's it. We're done. We'll make it. You guys enough. We'll make it legal for 2 days. That's it. You get 2 days, 48 hours. Go do whatever you were doing behind our back. Just do it. That's like when you find your kid drinking, like your 14-year-old drinking in his bedroom, and you're like, no, that's it. We got vodka in the living room. Let's go. You're gonna learn today. You're gonna learn today. Is that how you parent? NFL.
Why do I think like, it's like I'm in a stand-up act with Kevin Hart. Back. When did this become a whorehouse? Legal it's fascinating to me because so much happens in that 48 hours.
Right, and just a background real quick. So what was happening before was the league year starting used to be the start of free agency.
Yes.
But word started coming out that players were agreeing to deals with teams before the league year started, and that's a no-no. Players were visiting team facilities and trying to hide it. That's a no-no. We're in an age of information where like players get found at like Duff's. Like, you know, like players get found at the airport.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. So you're not in a scenario where you can hide your activity anymore.
No.
It's really hard to hide in public nowadays. And before, players could get away with it, but it's just not an option anymore. So the league just decided, okay, well, we'll allow you to negotiate or discuss with pending free agents before they're actually free agents. Now, I want to be clear, this is only for players with expiring contracts. So players like Mitchell Schwartz, players, who've been cut, they're free agents now.
Yeah, they can talk to anybody.
They can talk to anybody now.
Impending free agents for the 2021 season. That is what we're discussing.
Right, exactly.
But it's such a fascinating exercise to me because Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, all those guys, they blow up Twitter.
This is where they make their money.
On Monday and Tuesday,
This is where they make their money.
So by the time when do we want to release this? Is this the Sunday, bad boy?
Yeah, this will be Sunday.
This will be the Sunday. Yeah! See? You guys are part of the process. So what happens
to be the best version of yourself.
Oh my God. You said that's the only impression I do well.
It is.
Because I got banana hands. Apparently.
Yeah, you got banana hands and lots of teeth.
It's like a row of chiclets. Be the best version of yourself. But all that intertwined, Paul, do you foresee the Bills being a huge player in that?
In legal tampering?
In legal tampering. I don't see them being I see Bean. Here's what I see. I see Bean laying groundwork for 2022.
Oh, that's interesting. So you talk to guys now because you have the opportunity to talk to them, but a lot of these guys are going to be on 1 or 2 year deals that teams are going to try and exit out of. That's
piece of candy. Because as I went over the salary cap and I started looking at the teams that had the most salary cap and the teams that had the lowest salary cap. Buffalo is near the lower end because obviously they just signed 2 very pivotal pieces.
Yeah.
But the point of it was like, all right, because of where the salary cap currently is, where guys may go, I could see Bean kind of foreseeing, like, okay, I know this guy will only probably get a 1-year deal. He's 28, 29. I may want him next year. Let me just call. It's like, hey, listen, we don't have the cap space to sign you right now for what you're worth. You're probably going to get that from this team or that team or that. But just keep us in the back of your mind for next year if you don't want to stay where you want.
Right. Or, if something comes up down the road, if you're available in the middle of the season, just,
If we have something that happens, I may trade for you. I may want to trade for you. So,
right. Well, and that's another thing, right? So you're going to sign all these guys, and then you're going to walk into the draft. Teams trade players for picks
all the
constantly.
time. Yes.
Constantly. So it is, I'm not going to say likely, but it is possible, right, that players that are signed in this free agency period might not be on their team for very long, especially if they're on a 1 or 2 year deal.
No.
The top 35% of all league players, clubs that lose players to other clubs, shall be yada yada yada. There's got to be a caveat here.
I've never been backhanded by you. I'm feeling it's coming.
Got these big hands. Ever been slapped in the face by a carp?
Is that a fish?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
You're not a fisherman, are you?
I'm gonna say no.
No, that's a no.
Fisherman. Yeah, that's me. Closest I get to fishing is driving to Tops and buying some sea bass.
Closest I get to fishing is a fish fillet sandwich at McDonald's. You're not catching me in the water, or I'll float away. I'm exceptionally buoyant for those of you who were unaware.
Oh, look, it's a canoe. I'm not getting in that.
Please don't.
Are you kidding me?
Prison.
Seriously, if I sat on you, it'd be like a freaking pool noodle.
What, you think both ends would just come up when you said, I'm eating leg? And my feet would just go off the ground? That's what happens when you sit on a pool noodle, Mario. Both ends just go up.
I don't know. They've always sunk, in my opinion. I'm too freaking heavy.
You need more noodles. All right, so we've briefly discussed usable content about the legal tampering period.
This is going to be a great Sunday episode.
It's going to be a great Sunday episode. So, legal tampering, just to recap, teams can talk to pending free agents. So those are guys whose contracts are expiring. Guys who were released are free agents, and they can discuss anybody with any team at any time, right? So what's fascinating about the legal tampering period is normally that's where a lot of your big free agents go, but it's also why we see some teams release players ahead of time to allow them to find a new home early. That, like Mark Ingram, just as an example, right? Ingram just signed. He was released at the end of the season. But the other side of that is teams are really sneaky, right? Because the Ingram release, he was in a contract year anyway, and they released him. Now, why'd they do that? We wanted him to find a better home, right? We wanted to allow him the opportunity to discuss with teams and maybe latch on with somebody. It is veiled by the fact that if a player's released and they didn't finish the term of their contract, they don't come towards the compensatory formula if somebody signs them.
Oh, piece of candy.
Isn't that interesting,
So
right?
if I release a player prior to their contract being up in the new league year in March, then they will not, if they sign a huge deal.
We'll use Jordan Phillips as an example, right? Jordan Phillips, when he left Buffalo, his contract expired. So he signed a new deal with Arizona. Jordan Phillips was part of the compensatory formula. Now, mind you, the Bills didn't have enough offset to get a compensatory pick, but he was part of the formula. Now, let's say Arizona cuts him tomorrow, and the Bills sign him again. Not eligible to be counted against the compensatory formula because he didn't finish the terms of his contract that he signed.
Wouldn't that pick go back to Baltimore? Why wouldn't they let him finish out his deal? You think it'd behoove them to finish out his deal? That's weird.
It is weird, isn't it? So teams that release players early in the final year of their deal are ultimately just hurting themselves.
Well, if you don't think they're going to sign a huge deal. Ingram,
I don't think Ingram's signing a big deal. No, I agree. But I'm saying that releasing a player at the end of their contract doesn't benefit the team to do so.
So, given recent history,
Right.
the Texans aren't entitled to a compensatory pick for Arizona signing Milano.
Exactly. Right.
Wow.
It doesn't count.
Wow.
Right.
So this is probably why you see players see the end of their deals that are good players that can't be re-signed.
It's why teams hold on to players, right?
I mean, shouldn't Atlanta have like 40 compensatory picks by now?
They suck so
They
bad.
can't. You're.
They're in jail too.
They're like $10 million over the cap, and they only have like 37 players.
Yeah, Atlanta has 43 players. They need 55 technically now, right? They're 12 players short, and they've $10 million over the cap.
Why do I feel a reference from Necessary Roughness coming on? Wally, we'll have enough players if we go both ways. Iron Man football with this bunch of daisies. You're taking too many pills.
That is such an underused quote from that movie.
You're taking too many pills?
No. Iron Man football quote. Jesus.
What the hell's happening?
Remember when we used to have good content? Remember what we say mattered?
No. This is
just how it's always
There's a
been.
lot that's mattered in this episode. The problem is, normally I'd cut all this stuff out. It benefits you to keep a player on your team that you think is going to sign a big deal once their contract expires. If you cut them, you're not entitled to the compensatory format.
Exactly.
However, usually teams will cut players to let them try to find a home. Now, there was a flip side of that. What is the benefit of a player finding a home prior to free agency?
In the legal tampering period?
No, not even that. Like you said, they cut Ingram right at the end of the season.
Yeah.
There's something to be said if they're on the team before that. I don't know. But the legal tampering period, as we tried to start this discussion, that's the thing. Will the Bills be active? I think Bean will be. I think he'll be on the phone. I think a lot of the Bills players have been on the phone already.
Yeah.
Trying to get guys. But what is to say that you could try to finagle one or two players out of that?
Well, I think you have, first off, you're allowed to call players now because you're allowed to call those players, right? So you make the phone call.
Yeah.
But I think you also talk to your players and say, of the guys that you know whose contracts are expiring, what kind of conversations did you have with these guys? Let's make the best use of this time, right? Let me make the best use, because while Bean's going to be active and I'm sure calling a lot of players, we're not going to see a lot of results out of that.
No.
Right, because Bills just don't have a lot of money to spend.
They don't.
So that's good. I mean, you're still going to see guys the first day of the legal tampering period announce big blockbuster deals. Like I remember when the Bills signed Kevin Johnson, and everybody was like, Kevin Johnson.
It was like the point guard for the Suns.
Right, and they got they have presser and contract signing with them, and we're sitting here going, that's it. This is the dude. This was what we did. With legal tampering, this is what we did. And it turned out, Kevin Johnson actually turned out to be a nice signing for them. What is phenomenal. He played well. He played well.
Nice.
He was a nice signing.
Drapes are nice, Paul.
Are they?
Me saying that your cooking is nice. However, he'd probably still be on his team if he was nicer. Or nastier. Or better.
Dude, he was basically league minimum. All right. Like, he was basically league
Hey, you
minimum.
can't hate that.
Can't hate on that.
You got what you paid for? I'm off the rails in this episode.
Yeah, the Bills definitely used legal tampering to shop on the dollar menu before.
Laser. $1 man.
They did. But even with all that being said, so you're going to have the legal tampering period. That's going to end. Official league free agency is going to start. And that's when guys with contract, with roster bonuses, that stuff starts kicking in. So while guys might be on the team right now, you might see players who have a big roster bonus coming up. All of a sudden, you either got to renegotiate that bonus or that guy's about to be a free agent. And the pool of free agents is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger as teams realize that, hey, I'm not where I need to be for where these contracts are going to put me.
Yeah. That's the other side of the legal tampering. They're
Right.
going to say, listen, we have to do something about your deal
Mhm.
in the next 2 days.
Yeah, they pick up the phone and they talk with a player who's a pending free agent. They say, okay, listen, this is what we got to get to. How are we going to get there? And then you're looking up and down your roster. You're like, well, this guy's got a $6 million roster bonus. Either that's got to go or he's got to go. It's gonna it's gonna be one or the other here. The only thing that's exciting about the legal tampering period, it's the roster moves that are going to have to come along with it.
I just don't want it. The Milano 4 for 44, the Williams 3 for 28, 27.
3 for 28.
You see a free agent come up that, oh, the Bills, I just don't want to have that conversation where people are saying, oh, the Bills could have got him for that money.
Right.
Well, you don't know that. You don't.
Right, that's going to happen. Yeah, we don't know what those free agent contracts are going to be like, but I think that's the chance you're willing to take to retain Williams and Milano
Yeah.
is you guessed wrong about what's going to happen in free agency.
Yeah.
But the Bills
Usually
are
have.
pretty patient, and they've had a pretty good pulse on how all this
Absolutely.
plays out. So I'm comfortable with them not doing much in the legal tampering
fine with
period.
I'm always interested in behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. I agree. I think we can wrap this up and say, as a Bills fan, if you're expecting fireworks, you're going to get sparklers, right? Like you're just not going
You
to
will.
get. It's not going to be blockbuster. The legal tampering period.
No. It's those white popper things you throw at people's feet.
Snaps.
Snaps.
Those are going to be legal tampering fireworks.
Kevin Johnson.
EJ Gaines. A couple times.